Sir. Mr. Walberg, I have a two-part question, so
we'll take them.
Bear with me. You know, it doesn't make any difference which one you take first. Are there any parts of the health care legislation that you support? And what are they? And what is your position on repealing this bill?
There is not one part of the health care plan that I support. And I say that because it is a package. It is a takeover of American freedom, a takeover of individual rights to determine their health, their medical needs, and how it's taken care of. So no, I would not even fall in the trap of saying that there's any part of that bill that I support. It must be repealed and replaced. When I was doing town hall meetings in August here in this district, when our Congressman Mark Schauer was doing none that were unscreened and unplanned, unprogrammed, 80% to 90% of the people that showed up to those events were opposed to the health care takeover. They were not opposed to reform, but they said it needed to be done in such a way that it's done in the private sector, a patient-centered approach, as opposed to a government takeover. People have asked me, have you read that entire bill? No, I haven't. I found out in reading legislation over the years that I've had the privilege of representing people in even the state legislature or Congress. If you see enough bad with a bill, you don't have to read the whole bill. You know how you're going to vote already. If you understand that it violates the Constitution, you already know how you're going to vote. It's a bad bill. The alternative would be the plan that I introduced when I was in Congress, which was a patient-centered approach. The same plan, the principles that were taken from that bill and put into the Republican alternative that people like Dave Camp from Michigan and Paul Ryan from Wisconsin and Peter Roskam from Illinois took to the President and said, Mr. President, this is our alternative. The plan would have done things like this. Expanded the use and flexibility of health savings accounts. That's our money. A tax benefit we get, if we would expand that, allow us to develop that so we can spend as we determine in consultation with our medical providers the best way possible for taking care of us. That's an approach we ought to give. Association health plans, where we say to small businesses, yeah, join together an economy of scale. Get a group of private contractors together. And now you'll be able to, because you have more people under that plan, you can purchase health care coverage for your employees at a reduced cost. And you can supply that to them if you determine, like the big three do. Why shouldn't you have that opportunity? Thirdly, let's allow people to purchase health care across state lines. Expand the competitiveness and the variety of health care available. The cost of Blue Cross, for instance, in Michigan, is not the same as the cost of Blue Cross North Carolina. Let's expand competition there. Why not give, another part of my plan was to give the same tax break to individuals or households that we give to small businesses. Here's a tax break for being responsible, for providing health care coverage for your family or for yourself. Attaboy, attagirl. That's the break. Why don't we do that? And then let's also put in place tort reform that seeks to reduce the number of frivolous lawsuits that cost us all, whether it be our insurance costs or the actual care that we receive in a hospital or a clinic or whatever. That approach will provide, without any mandates, without any benefit, without any taxes, huge benefits for our society in carrying on needs, because it takes away a disincentive of, say, my youngest son, who's invincible, like I was at his age. And I'd rather buy something for my car, my motorcycle, or my sound system because I'm healthy. You know, I don't need insurance. Well, this says, hey, there's no reason for you not. We're going to give you the tax break. In fact, a tax break large enough that if you just want the comprehensive coverage, it'll pay for it. So why stay away from it? That's a much better approach than saying, you will do this. It will be mandated. And you know something? It may not end up being as good as what you have right now, but you're going to take it because we're telling you as a government. I'm hopeful that the court cases that are developing, the attorneys general that are fighting the mandate on states and on the citizens of the states will be effective to say that that is unconstitutional. But until then, we have to fight it, and if elected, I'll be part, I believe, of a majority that will refuse to fund the program. The President will not sign a repealer, but we can defund the plan. And then in 2012, elect an administration that will sign individual bills like the components of my legislation, or a major bill, far less than 2,000 pages, I can tell you that, My entire bill was less than 150 pages. But a bill that says, America, we got a great health care availability here in the country. Now let's fix the system in the fine-tuning and let you make good decisions about your health.
Would you agree that if reform is necessary, and I assume that's...
Oh, absolutely. That's why I introduced the legislation.
So would it include pre-existing conditions?
Yeah. I think the components that I just addressed would deal with some of the issues of pre-existing.
Right.
Because you have more ability to pay, greater competition bringing down the overall costs. But the Republicans also put in their plan things like high-risk pools, which would help pre-existing conditions, because it spreads that problem over the entire industry and says, if you truly can't find, because of your pre-existing cancer or mental condition or whatever else, here's a pool like we do here in Michigan for the auto insurance. If you're living in an area where it's almost impossible to get reasonable insurance, or if you have a record, but you still, because we mandate it, you have to have insurance, there's a pool available for you.
Right.
The same could be with the plan that the Republicans added to my principles that says, here's a high-risk pool. We all kick in a little bit through our premiums, and then it gives a person a chance, though it may be higher, yet it'll be significantly less than it would be, so the pre-existing, I can afford it. But then there ought to be also allowances for things that are different than insurance. My brother's in a plan that's a co-op because of a pre-existing cancer issue he has. And it's a national co-op, and they pay into it, but greatly reduced cost, and ultimately it's almost a cash system where they pay the doctors and medical providers. It works. The Obamacare would do away with that, and my brother would not have capability of insurance except for government insurance.
One final question, Mr. Walberg. Would you agree that health care is not a right?
I would agree that. It's a responsibility that we ought to take. And in this country, we have virtual rights to the freedom to make those choices. Right. And we have the privilege to know that there's a health care system out there that is unrivaled in the world. And the only thing that's inhibiting right now is government inactivity in dealing with the few and basic needs, and then letting the private sector work.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Appreciate it. Thank you.